What's up, you guys? Okay, so I'm coming to you guys with a cooking video. I know, I have not done a cooking video in a very long time. And I don't know why. I don't have an excuse. I'm not going to give you the YouTube story of something happened, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I just haven't been into them right lately, but I am inspired today, so I am bringing you a cooking video. This is going to be a DIY on macaroni and cheese. So let me give you a little background. This is not my traditional mac and cheese. Come Thanksgiving time, I will show you my traditional mac and cheese. I don't eat that way all the time, so it's kind of hard to bring a video, you know, if I'm not eating it. However, yesterday I was watching Cooking with Patty on the cooking channel, and she made an 8 cheese macaroni and cheese. Yes, you guys, 8 cheese macaroni and cheese. And she said people, she had this little story in her video. She said people always come up to her and say, Patty, I made you macaroni and cheese. And she said her #1 question is, how many cheeses did you use? And she said they say 4. She's like, that ain't my macaroni and cheese. So I thought about it and I was like, 8 cheeses? Why not? 8 cheeses? Yes. Who doesn't want 8 cheeses in a macaroni? So I was inspired to make Patty LaBelle's version. However, it's going to be my version because I'm using 8 cheese concept, but I'm using my cheeses and I'm using my techniques. And so let's get right to it. Let's start with the ingredients. So the ingredients, I am using 8 different cheeses. And I'm going to be using sharp cheddar, Pepperjack, Gouda, Provolone, smoked cheddar, Colby, aged Asiago cheese, and Velveeta. It's a must. So those are the cheese ingredients, and then I'm going to use I like the large elbow macaroni and cheese. I'm going to be using my butter and my half and half, and then I'll also get my seasonings out for you. So this is what we're going to start with. To prep, you want to start boiling your water for your macaroni and turn your oven to 350 degrees. I am going to get busy with shredding my cheese. I bought some blocks of cheese. Now let me give you just a quick tip. When you're using blocks of cheese and you're shredding it, whether you're hand shredding it or you're using some sort of device, I am going to be using my KitchenAid because I got it and I want it and I love it and I'm lazy, so I'm not going to hand shred, but I am going to be using my KitchenAid. But when you're doing that on cheeses, put your cheese in the freezer for a little bit, maybe an hour or so if you have the time. This will harden up the cheese and it'll make it easier to shred. So I'm going to start with shredding the cheese and go ahead and get ready. Okay, so I shredded all my cheese, and now it's time for me to cut my Velveeta cheese. I'll show you the shredded cheese and I'll talk to you about the shredded cheese, but before we do that, let's go ahead and cut the Velveeta cheese. I want the Velveeta cheese to be in blocks. So I used the cubes, Velveeta. If you know Velveeta, you know what is the purpose of Velveeta technically is to melt. So you can do cubes or a thick slice of Velveeta because it's gonna melt. I mean, that's the purpose of the cheese. And so I bought this already shredded, sharp cheddar. If you guys know cheddar, it's not the harder cheese. So a thicker version of the sliced cheddar actually melts pretty well. Same with Pepperjack. Again, the harder the cheese, you want it to be shredded finely. So that's basically the story, the moral to this story. So with my soft cheeses, such as, so this is my provolone, this is my smoked cheddar, and this is my Colby. These cheeses melt really easy. And if you can see, I shredded this is my Asiago cheese. This is a harder grade of cheese, and so it doesn't melt as friendly as or easily as the other cheeses. So I shredded that very small, and then this is my what is this?
Gouda.
Gouda. Thanks. This is my Gouda cheese, and the Gouda is also a cheese that doesn't melt. It's a harder cheese, and so it doesn't melt as well. So that is my cheese. Now let's talk about what I do boiling my noodles. Okay, so to boil your noodles, you want your water to be at a boiling temperature. And what I do before I add my noodles in, I use some extra virgin olive oil, and I just add oil to that water. The purpose of this is to basically allow the noodles to not stick together. This allows for a separation of the noodles. And then I just add some coarse salt. And this is just to add a little flavor to the noodles while cooking. Those are the only ingredients I add. Now, on noodle cooking, I always cook my noodles al dente. So there's no special way to cook noodles. You pay attention. I always go by paying attention to what is on the package. So it says al dente, 6 minutes. So that's how long I'm going to cook these noodles. I'll check them. If I don't like the texture after 6 minutes, I will continue, but I'm going to start at 6 minutes. And normally I have found that the package tells me, you know, the exact amount time. So I'll go with that. So I'm going to put these noodles on, and after that we're going to start prepping the macaroni. It's been 6 minutes, and this is what the noodles look like. Pretty firm and nicely plump. So what I'm doing is I'm transferring my noodles to a colander, and I'm rinsing those noodles off with cold water just to bring them back to a room temperature. So I'm just going to rinse those noodles, and it also, rinsing it off, also rinses off the extra starches. So that's it for the noodles. Okay. So we are ready to prep the macaroni to be put in the oven. One ingredient I forgot to tell you guys about is eggs. I use about 2 to 3 eggs, depending on my serving size, for my macaroni. Now, what I do is I just crack them really quickly. I'm going to use 3 for this serving size. I crack them, and then I just mix them. The purpose for the eggs is for separation purposes. I think it helps blend the cheeses and doesn't allow the noodles to stick together. So I'm going to use those 3 eggs. So that's what the first thing I'm going to do is put my eggs in. And I'm just going to give it a good whisking around just to make sure that the egg has hit the majority of the noodles. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to season my macaroni. Now this is all to taste. I don't do a lot of measuring. So I'm going to first season it with seasoning salt. So this is to taste. I usually just judge off of the color. Then I'm going to use garlic powder. I'm also going to use some parsley. I go pretty heavy on the parsley, and black pepper to taste. Okay, so I'm just going to mix this up. I am going to add in my cheeses. Now I'm not measuring these cheeses, so I'm just kind of going off of, I want an equal amount of most of the cheeses. So what I'm going to do is the cheeses that I want to really blend in, I'm going to use, this is the sharp cheddar. So I'm going to get about a handful of the sharp cheddar. Here's the provolone. I'm going to get a good handful of the provolone. This is the smoked cheddar, and I love this, y'all. This is delicious. I'm going to get a handful and a half of that. Here is the Colby. Get a handful of the Colby. And I am going to get just a small amount of the Asiago cheese. and a good handful of the Gouda. And I'll tell you why I got a small amount of the Asiago at the end. So now this gets messy. This gets messy. It does not really work with the whole spoon and everything, because you want these cheeses to blend, to marry, to be together. So you got to use your hands. That's the only way it's going to work. My hands are clean. I just washed them, and it's time to go ahead and mix this together. You want to see a morsel of cheese on every noodle. You want to see several layers of cheeses on these noodles, and that's how you judge if you have enough cheese or not. I mean, lost track. I forgot the Pepperjack, so I'm adding a handful of that as well. So I'll do that. I'll continue to mix, and then I'll show you how we transfer over. Okay, so now it's time to transfer the macaroni with all the cheeses in there to the baking dish. Before we transfer, what we're going to do is we're going to take, I'm using my little butter spray. You can use whatever. You can actually put butter in if you want. I'm just using, it's basically just a flavored canola oil. And I am just going to spray the bottom of the pan to prevent it from sticking. And then once I spray the pan, I'm going to transfer the macaroni in there. And I'm going to pack it in, y'all. Ain't nothing better than some packed macaroni and cheese. Okay, so now it's time to transfer the macaroni with all the cheeses in there to the baking dish. Before we transfer, what we're going to do is we're going to take, I'm using my little butter spray. You can use whatever. You can actually put butter in if you want. I'm just using, it's basically just a flavored canola oil. And I am just going to spray the bottom of the pan to prevent it from sticking. And then once I spray the pan, I'm going to transfer the macaroni in there. And I'm going to pack it in, y'all. Ain't nothing better than some packed macaroni and cheese. From here, what I'm going to do, this is 2 sticks of butter. It is melted. I really like softened butter, so I tried to get it to the softened texture because I forgot to take it out earlier. So this is 2 sticks of butter, and I am just going to generously spread that butter all the way through. Butter, butter, butter. Love butter. Love, love, love butter. And then I'm just going to give that just a small mixing through. The butter will melt and start spreading as well. So once I do the butter, I'm going to take my half and half, and I am not measuring this either, but just enough to kind of make it moist. And again, I'm just mixing this through. Now you may wonder why didn't you just mix that in the mixing pan? These are ingredients, in my opinion, and this is not statistics, this is not anything that I learned. In my opinion, the butter and the milk, I just kind of like it to be in the pan, so I could evenly distribute and see how much I need, versus it just being, mixed up in the mixing bowl. So I always put these ingredients in the pan. So I need a little bit more. Again, I just want to make it moist enough. That's pretty good. Okay. So from there, I'm going to take these Velveeta cheese crumbles or cubes, and I'm just going to evenly distribute them on top. Velveeta melts very well, so it's going to melt into the cheese, and it's going to give it a nice crust and be good. I'm going to use just a little bit of the other cheeses, and this is just to sprinkle across to get that crust. So I'm just using some of the Colby, and I'm just using whatever cheese. It's not a big deal. Okay, so I thought, why not hit it off with a little smoked paprika? Thinking about the color, paprika usually doesn't have a taste, but the smoked paprika has a real nice smoky flavor to it. So I'm going to add some of that smoked paprika. And I'm gonna pop this into the oven on 350. Okay, so it has been about 45, maybe 50 minutes, and I've had this mac and cheese in the oven. I just want to show you the progress. I'm gonna take it out in maybe about 5 more minutes, but I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like in the oven. It is crispy and crisp. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and take this out right now. Okay, so I am just, you see the first portion, and I just want you to see, look at that macaroni, like all the cheeses that are blended through it. The cheese is melted on top. So as I get a portion of it, look at that, y'all. That looks delicious. Oh my gosh, that is delicious. Look at the macaroni underneath. So, all right. So enjoy. This is gonna be fire. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.